How long did it take for you started getting like a shift with like confidence and all that when you started the martial arts after that happened? Like, was it pretty quick or did it build up over a few months?
I think it takes a long time, man. I think that when you're born different, I guess is the correct way to not, because I can make fun of me all day long, but I don't want to downplay anybody else's shit. But at the end of the day, I think that when you're born different from other people in any way, shape, or form, I think that that has a way of picking away at your confidence no matter what. So, I mean, right now, I can come online and I love public speaking. I love talking shop. I love martial arts. So I feel very confident in that. But I still have days where I wake up just like anybody else and I feel like a bag of shit about myself because I have scars on my face. So because, and I obviously I work online primarily. And so what do you get, a lot of? You get a lot of people typing whatever they feel like because they're venting. But, when it came to martial arts, I think martial arts is a really funny thing because I think people go to martial arts expecting to learn about self confidence and to learn about that stuff. It's not something that you're taught, it's something you develop in yourself because you start to realize that the situations that you're in are not really as shitty as the situations you're putting yourself into on purpose. Somebody cuts you off in traffic before you ever trained. You're like, you mother, I kill you. Once you train, you're like, well, at least it's not sitting on my chest on a neon belly and punching me in the
Fuck,
face.
ain't that the truth?
Like situations just seem a little less awkward. They seem a little less worrisome. You feel like you can handle yourself a little bit better. So what's the worst that could possibly happen? Well, when you don't know how to protect yourself, the worst that could possibly happen is you get your ass whooped. Well, when you start eliminating that as a percentage anyway of that being a likelihood, then all of a sudden your confidence boosts. So I think that I'm still working on that. I think that that's an ongoing process, but I think that probably around high school, because at that time when I was fighting in the clubs, I mean, the first guy that I fought when I was at Plush was 35 years old and I was 15 years old. And I have that fight's one of my favorite fights ever because I was terrified. I remember getting into the ring. He got into the ring. I remember when I weighed in, I stood on the scale and the person who was weighing me in was a lady named Miss Connie, who was my instructor's wife. And so I stand on the scale, and she still works for the State Athletic Commission of Florida now, which is cool. But these fights were unsanctioned. Like they would literally pull drunk out of the audience throughout the night. So I stood on the scale and I was like, well, who am I fighting? She goes, oh, he's right behind you. And I didn't expect that. So I turned around and this dude Baja laughed in my face. And I was like, oh, shit. And it scared me because that guy was so confident about him winning. And I was like, oh, well, I guess I'll do the best I can. And there was like a little voyeur area in that back fighter's room, and you can go down these stairs to like this little concrete area where they did storage. And so I went down there and I'm shadow boxing and I'm warming up and I'm getting prepared for the fight and everything. And I heard someone on a cell phone on the top of the stairs talking about how they already want to fight. And I was like, I'm the first fight. No one has fought. So whoever that is just lying. So I looked up and it was that guy. And I was like, oh my God, like this guy, like now you're just arrogant. You're not confident. Like you're just an arrogant prick. And I was like, even at 15, I could recognize posturing. And I was like, that guy's just saying this because he already feels it's in the bag. I was like, I've been training almost every night, every day, nonstop since I was 12. So it's like 3 years. And it's not my first competition. It's just my first boxing match. And so I was like, okay, we'll see how this goes. And so at that moment, I think my confidence like went through the roof. Like that really was a defining moment for me. I got into the ring, bell rings, he comes across the corner, then my confidence disappeared. I go into like a fetal position in the ring, like standing, just covering my head, trying not to get rained on, and he's just throwing everything he has, and my eyes are closed, and like it was a rowdy place. Like people were putting their beers like on the ring. This was not like what you would normally imagine. Like I was stepping in people's alcohol and shit. It was a rough place. And so after about 30 seconds, I guess, if that, all of a sudden it just stopped. And I looked up and I opened my eyes, and the dude was like in the middle of the ring, holding onto his knees, gasping for air. And like I looked over and I saw the referee, which is actually one of my instructors, and the referee looks at me and looks at him and looks at me, and he's like, "What are you doing? Let's fight!" And so I threw the hardest, worst right hand cross I could right down the pipe, and he just happened to look up in that moment from gasping for air, and he looked up, and I broke his nose. It was just a lucky shot, to be honest. I don't think that was skill. It was like throwing a fucking softball, right? So I throw it, and then it hits him, and I could tell like it was broken. And then his nose is profusely bleeding. He started to puff up throughout the round. I was like, oh, I broke his shit. Good, fuck you for being a dick. And then he didn't answer the corner after that. And then I remember going to the back fighters area because I had to leave. So he didn't come out for round 2. He quit. And then when I went to the back fighters area, he was like over a garbage can profusely vomiting. And I left that night thinking, like, one, my confidence was very through the roof. I mean, this is a 35-year-old man. I was 15 years old. I was in a rowdy ass bar and I just beat this guy up. And now I'm going to go to school tomorrow. And I felt like that was so fucking boss at the time, like
Oh
you're a
yeah.
kid. It's the coolest thing. But then I thought about it. I was like, what did he tell that person he was on the phone with when he got home? Like, what was that conversation like? You should see the other guy.
Yeah, I was about to say, right?